pressing issues facing Europe today, how to effectively meet the refugees and asylum seekers' needs for education and employment. It's a known fact that education and professional integration are critical for empowering individuals to contribute meaningfully to their host communities and for fostering social cohesion. However, gaps in policy, infrastructure, and public understanding often hinder this process, leaving many refugees trapped in cycles of marginalization. Over the past few years, Europe has faced a growing influx of refugees and asylum seekers, a movement driven by conflict, persecution, and economic instability. In order to deal with this massive wave of migration, EU still continues to adopt its policies through initiatives like the EU Migration Pact. EU is making pacts with Turkey, with Egypt, with Tunisia, all autocratic regimes, to stem the flow of migration. While there are ongoing debates on the policies, the education and personal integration remains a critical issue of these initiatives. To guide us through this discussion, we are fortunate to have three distinguished speakers today who bring a wealth of knowledge and hand-on experience. So our first speaker is Professor Ides Nicaise. Professor Nicaise is a faculty member of KU Leuven, specializing in education and sociology. He has been actively involved in numerous EU projects focusing on social inclusion and equity, particularly for migrant students. His expertise in addressing educational disparities makes him a leading voice on how higher education institutions can play a pivotal role in integrating refugees and asylum seekers. Our second speaker is Hakan Ayçiçek. Hakan is the Secretary General of the European Professionals Network, an NGO based in Brussels, dedicated to supporting the professional integration of migrants across Europe. His work focuses on addressing the critical issue of diploma recognition and creating pathways for migrants to enter the labor market. He will also share with us the difficulties that the migrants experience. Last but not least, our final speaker is Professor İlyas Çiloğlu. He is a former rector and a professor of economics at Black Sea University in Georgia. With a distinguished career in academia, he moved to Belgium. His expertise will focus on the journey of migrants from education to sustainable employment. This panel offers a valuable opportunity to explore how policy, education, and economic frameworks can work together to empower refugees and asylum seekers while fostering greater social cohesion. I encourage everyone today here to engage actively in this discussion, ask questions, and help us identify actionable solutions to these challenges. Without further ado, I am pleased to invite our first speaker, Professor Ides Nicaise, to begin his presentation. Professor Nicaise, the floor is yours. You have 15 minutes, please.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the welcoming words. Yeah, the organizers were so kind to allow me to tailor the title of my presentation a bit more to a field that I feel comfortable with. And I will share with you some intentions and plans that we are currently trying to realize, implement with a research project called From Camp to Campus. And the title is probably telling. It's all about, the role of higher education institutions in integrating refugees and by extension other newcomers as well, but mainly refugees. Because refugees are in a specific situation due to the fact that they were forced to migrate. And forced migration means that you break off a lot of your, plans for life. You need to improvise, you need to restart, and that is much more difficult than for other migrants. Okay, I'm trying to look at the screen there, but I don't see the PowerPoint anymore. Is there a way that... Or maybe I can stand there. Yeah, it's okay. Oh, okay, thank you very much. Yes.
Professor, just a minute. In the meantime, I forgot to tell you that the program is being live streamed on YouTube.
Thank you. Can I just ask to show the next slide? Okay. Thank you. This way.
Yeah. It's still green.
Yeah. But I can speak from there. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. This poster was used for a conference back in 2018, which was a milestone actually in the preparation of the project. In the years before 2018, before that conference, we were, I was a member and chairing an inter-university group on equal opportunities. And we witnessed the influx of refugees in a very, say, turbulent year, 2015, 2016, where there was a relatively important inflow. And we felt that, services were overwhelmed and that refugees had a very hard time finding a position in the Belgian society. And we felt also that from many testimonies from refugees from Syria, Afghanistan, Turkey, and other countries, how especially qualified people were actually undervalued in the labor market and had to accept jobs that were actually more disqualifying than valorizing their skills. And that was the reason for the whole project. So next slide, please. Thank you. The background of the project is that, inflow of refugees, as I told you, and then you can proceed. We had that conference, and the conference was an opportunity for refugees themselves to testify, because we had prepared a conference with round tables with refugees and also professionals who were responsible in higher education to, assist refugees and other newcomers in finding their way in higher education. So we had testimonies from the refugees about their position in the labor market and all the obstacles that they needed to overcome. We also identified some, say, key obstacles and on the other hand as well examples of good practice, not just from Belgian universities but also from abroad, because Belgium had a lot to learn from other countries. And it was also an opportunity to, develop some advocacy arguments for higher education institutions at large to raise their efforts for the integration of newcomers and refugees. By the way, we started with the Inter-University Association, the Flemish Inter-University Association, but we were soon joined by the Association of Universities for Applied Sciences, or Polytechnic Universities, which is a far larger group, and they actually made already more efforts than the universities themselves in fostering opportunities for refugees. We then decided after the conference to follow up. One of the outputs of the whole project was an action plan that was submitted to the authorities of in the first place, the Flemish universities. And that plan was adopted, and to some extent it still is bearing fruit today. Efforts are being made, but we felt that a lot more of, say, capacity building was necessary, and a lot more of, say, advocacy to move to from good plans to reality. And therefore, we decided also to submit a follow-up project, which was, after several attempts, adopted by the Fund for Scientific Research, the Flemish Fund. The specificity of this project is that it is a very policy-oriented and practice-oriented project, contrary to other projects funded by that scientific fund. It is designed not to be purely theoretical. It's designed to have an impact on society. And that remains the main purpose of the present ongoing research. We started at the end of 2023, so we are ongoing for more than a year now. I briefly summarize what the different work packages are. Of course, we need to use a theoretical framework, and our theoretical framework is mainly inspired by the concept of social investment. Investing means that you have costs, you incur costs in the short term, but you have returns in the longer term. And that applies in particular to education, of course, because education costs a lot of public money and costs also a lot of time for the people participating in education, and time is money. So it's a costly affair, it's a huge investment, but there is plenty of literature demonstrating how large the return on education can be. But it's not just a matter of, say, financial return through improvement of the labor market position of refugees and newcomers. It's also a matter of social return through better integration, also intergenerational effects on the children, etc., etc. So that's the key theoretical framework. The second package has to do with the advocacy. What we aim to demonstrate, so it's not a neutral research project. It is, we call that second work package a society case, inspired by the term business case. A business case is a feasibility plan that is drawn up by businessmen to demonstrate that what they want to invest in is worthwhile and is convincing for the funders. And we aim to do the same for the public authorities in Belgium to demonstrate how big the return on investment could be if you offer more opportunities to refugees and newcomers to go their way through higher education services. By the way, we don't just mean that people have to acquire, that the old people need to acquire a new diploma in Belgium. Very often diplomas from abroad are not immediately transferable. Take the example of law. If you study law in a foreign country, it's not immediately applicable in Belgium, unless it is international law, of course. But you can, through, say, transition programs, sort of shortcuts, transform a foreign diploma into a Belgian diploma. That is one of the ideas. Another idea is to link language courses to, say, bridging courses for young people who still need to start university or higher education in order to maximize their progress, to minimize the time they need to invest. And there's a lot of, say, improvements that can be made in language courses for newcomers in Flanders in particular. Many of our language courses are too schoolish and are not really productive in the short run. People who are qualified, who have already a degree from secondary education, can learn much faster very often than our traditional language courses permit. So these are examples of how higher education services, and I'm glad that one of the next speakers will talk about the recognition of foreign diplomas. That's another type of service that relates to higher education that is very important. So the society case will try to demonstrate how large the return could be in the longer term. And then we will focus on, say, the demand for higher education and for different kinds of services within the, say, the target group of newcomers and refugees. Through a survey that is already ongoing, if I'm well informed. It's, by the way, our friends from the University of Brussels who are doing that survey. And they have a lot of connections in different, say, self-organizations of immigrants in Belgium. So there will be a survey of potential students and also a panel study of people who actually make the transition into higher education. They will be followed up throughout their higher education trajectory in order to, say, learn from them what the obstacles and the successes are and how the programs can be adjusted to their needs. There will also be a lot of qualitative work to be done through focus groups. First, separate focus groups of immigrants amongst themselves to, say, gather ideas and then connect with other people, with professionals from the higher education sector and with policymakers. And that's a second stage in order to foster the dialogue between, say, newcomers in Belgium and the people who bear responsibilities. And the final work package will then be about the implementation of the conclusions of the research. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is just a presentation of the team. It is an inter-university and yeah, not just university, but also universities of applied sciences. We have two universities, KU Leuven and the University of Brussels, participating in the research. And then we have UCLL, which is a University of Applied Sciences, with a huge experience also in say, terms of bridging programs and assistance for newcomers in their programs. And PXL, also University of Applied Sciences, and they will be responsible for the panel study. So I can't tell you anything about the results yet. You will need to wait for it. I can just tell you that we have also a stakeholder community which consists of, on the one hand, associations either involved with newcomers and refugees or self-organizations like, for example, Solidarity with Others. You are one of the stakeholders in that research. And at various, say, milestones and points, we will give you the floor, and also we hope that these self-organizations will also give us access to people with a personal experience who can make valuable inputs into our research. So I will end there. Yeah, I just need to mention that PXL will be responsible for the panel study. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. I hope
Thank you very much, Professor Nicaise. Hakan, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for giving an opportunity for me to raise refugees' most important issue, how to integrate their professional background into the Belgium society and the Belgium labor market. So, as a European Professionals Network, we do conduct seminars and panels, and we try to organize in-service training programs for the refugees who come to Belgium. So we also get funded from the European Commission for different projects, Erasmus Plus projects, AMIF projects, to raise this issue from the other counterparts of the different countries of Europe as well. So along the 6 years, we do have so many case studies, case works, different refugees living in different countries in Europe as well. So here I would like to mention the main two main issues and the problems that the refugees come to the Europe as a first. The first is diploma recognition, and the second one is how they are going to integrate the professional background which they have in the country of origin. So I'd like to give as a psychologist, like Şeyma mentioned a couple of times, I'd like to also raise a psychological perspective into this issue as well. So, for instance, if would you like to make a touristic attraction to another foreign country, for instance, a person who lives in Turkey and would you like to visit, let's say, Paris? So it was so easy for him to, as the money concerns, to exchange his or her money to convert into euro. The first he or she went to exchange office and give his Turkish liras and get the euro in return. It was so easy for his, the solid capital. But how a refugee will transfer their experience of work and how they transfer their diplomas and as well as the personal values while deciding to completely flee his or her own country. So this is so difficult decision to make, and most importantly, after giving this decision, they have faced and confront so many difficulties to convert his or her background, the professional background, into the Belgium. That's why we live in Belgium. But so this is the same problem for the refugees living all over the Europe as well. So normally I do just distract myself so easily because I'm having 6 years on this issue, so I try to keep to my context. So I do have so many cases facing these problems as well. So I'd like to raise the most the example and depicted an example, the explaining these difficulties who suffer in Europe as refugees. So first of all, one of the biggest challenge for the refugees is diploma recognition. The foreign diplomas are not recognized right away in European countries. So this process can take months or even years. So can you imagine you come to the country that you don't know anything about the system, and you have to feed your family, and you apply for the recognition of diploma, but it takes years and months. So by this time, there's a huge problem. How do they feed your parents, and how do they interact with the society? So this time length is the first issue, the first confronting matter for many refugees when they come to the European countries. I'd like to give a real case from a refugee. By the way, you know, when we decided to give this panel, so I get also the consent and permission from our network. I'm going to share your story with your permission. And they consistently and insistently told me that please hide my name, so I don't want to be mentioned there. So still they have fear in the country of origin, shamed and blamed. So I'm going to use here the arbitrary names or fake names. But the story is true, but all the names are not the exact names exactly. Dr. Ibrahim from Turkey, he was highly respected physician in Istanbul and specializing in cardiology. When he arrived in Belgium as a refugee, he was eager to continue his work and provide healthcare in his new community. So I do have opportunity to get an interview with so many refugees. I also Secretary General at the European Professionals Network, but also I was working in the UCLL University, the Flemish University, so we do have so field experience taking in interviews the refugees, not only from the one country, but different countries, from Afghanistan to Sudan, from Syria to the different Algeria, many different nationalities. So eager, they are very enthusiastic to share their experience within in Europe, but they couldn't find this chance right away. I'd like to, as a psychologist in our sessions, I'd like to give some metaphors, you know, to understand better. So I'm familiar with some faces. So there are some moms here. So the milk, the mother milk is so essential for the kids and infants in the first 2 years in the infant and child. But what if, I mean, for some reasons, mother cannot give this milk to his kids? What happened? So the milk inside the breast will be harmful for mothers. So this is the metaphor. So this is the same for the many refugees. They do have too many experiences, too many life experiences, but they cannot share and they cannot give the society. So after some point, this is so harmful and make them like hide, isolation, also some sort of disease, psychological disease as well. So his medical degree was not automatically recognized, and the process for recognition was so slow, and he was required to take additional exams and language courses before he could practice medicine again. So this is the first step for the diploma recognition for the refugees. So when they apply for the diploma recognition, the institutions generally ask some additional courses for the refugees. So these courses given in the local languages. So can you imagine how long going to take to learn these local languages and register in the university and take these courses and also send these courses and the transcript to the equalization institutions? So it will take at least 1 or 2 years, you know, getting fully recognized these diplomas. And by this time, Ibrahim worked in a lower paid job unrelated to his expertise. This is not the isolated case. So many refugees, if they could not find the job related to their professional background, so they have to take some labor, the physical effects on the physical labor market, or some business or some jobs that completely irrelevant to their professional backgrounds. And there are countless individuals who face similar issues, which not only the waste of their talents, but also contribute to shortage of skilled professionals in sectors that desperately needs them. Normally, in education sector, in hospitality and health sector, they are announced that, so we need desperately doctors. So it's in the schools, they are crying out the lack of teachers. And the teachers are there, and the schools are waiting for the teachers, but somehow these institutions and the potential people cannot meet because of these difficulties. So in some cases, like in France, Italy, and Netherlands, it's especially hard because of the process is so slow, and sometimes refugees do not have becoming a civil servant in Belgium, there are specific websites, and many of the refugees do not aware of these websites as well. So normally, even though they finish like CVOs and other language courses, there are specific language exams in these websites, so you have to convert their language skills into these websites. And the local people, I mean, who born in Belgium or who born in France, know this opportunity, but unfortunately, refugees have no chance to know these opportunities like local people do. For instance, Yusuf, an IT professional from Turkey who arrived in Belgium as a refugee, and he had a degree in computer science and several years of experience working in tech industry. However, despite applying to several tech companies, Yusuf struggled to find a better position. Even though he was well qualified, employers were often reluctant to consider him due to his lack of local work experience and the assumption that his Dutch was not strong enough to communicate effectively in the professional setting. So normally we interviewed with Yusuf, and he got to C1 level, and in the interview he was very fluent in the Dutch speaking, but unfortunately the local work experience, the first dictation many of the employers that conduct for the refugees. Okay, you got the C1 level, but you don't have the local experience. So this also hinder and blocks the refugees to enroll in the labor market quickly like local people do. So what happens? So this is the common problem. Refugees and immigrants often work in jobs far below their qualifications, which is known brain waste. So this not only limits their personal growth, but also affects the economy because society isn't using their skills effectively. So the brain waste is the real and the crucial and prominent problem that the Europe suffers last decade. And the second, and the psychological perspective, so what happens after these obstacles and the barriers after refugees faced? So they feel frustrated and lose confidence. And this also affects their sense of belonging the country they moved. I'd like to raise the Zeynep case. It's a teacher from Turkey who fled Belgium, and she held a degree in education. And she was a teacher for several years in Turkey. After arriving in Belgium, Zeynep was unable to find a teaching job because her degree was not recognized. And she lacked Belgian teaching credentials. And she eventually had to accept to work as a child care assistant, which left her feeling undervalued and disconnected from her original professional aspirations. Over the time, her sense of belonging and purpose was deeply affected, which is an experience that many refugees and immigrants feel under these conditions. So before preparing this speech, I also get the recent case from our network, and many of the women participants to our programs instantly request the raise about the headscarf issue. In the second part, one of the participants also raised the wearing a headscarf is how crucial to taking part in the labor market. So this is also a serious problem in discrimination faced by the refugees, unfortunately. So considering the fact that the refugees, the female refugees, come coming to Europe, especially coming from Muslim countries. So maybe 80 or 90% of refugees. So this is only the appearance, and normally this should be a fact for the employers while they're deciding or hiring criteria, but normally it is not written down, but somehow this physical appearance could be the only reason they were rejected by many applications for the job, unfortunately. Sorry. So I'd like to raise here the Fatima case. She's a Syrian refugee who fled the war with her children and refugee in Germany. And despite her impressive qualifications and experience as a teacher, she found herself repeatedly rejected by the employers who simply could not take off her headscarf, unfortunately. And one employer even admitted that your CV is perfect, you're a very strong resume. And she heard this compliment from the employer. But what the employer said, your headscarf did not fit the image in the office. So this is a deliberate excuse for him to reject Fatima to enroll in school.
Hakan, can you please wrap up?
Yeah, okay, I'm just coming to the end. So, okay, I'd like to several case studies, but I'd like to skip so you understand the issue anyway. So I'd like to give my last message to the decision makers and the governments. So what should be done to overcome all these difficulties? So in our network, we raise 5 recommendations for the government and the decision-making process to overcome these difficulties for the refugees. The first, the streamlined recognition process. European countries need to make process of recognition foreign diplomas faster and clearer. A common system across the countries would help refugees and immigrants use their qualifications more quickly. The second one, better language support. Language classes should be available for immigrants and the refugees for the local language in a way that helps with their specific career goals. All refugees going to the CVOs and the language courses like 2 years, but when they graduated from their language courses, even though they get in the C1 level, when they get in the labor market, they cannot even talk the technical terms which is required in their work. So the language course should be tailor-based according to their professionals, the professional background, to their the immigrants' professional background. So the third one, encourage employers to hire immigrants. Companies could receive incentives like subsidies or support for training programs to hire refugees and immigrants. This would help fill skill gaps and create more diverse workforce. And fourth, fight discrimination. Stronger efforts should be made to stop discrimination based on nationality, refugee status, and foreign qualifications. Employers need to understand benefits of hiring a diverse team, and the refugees should be given a chance to prove their skills. Fifth and the last, provide support for integration. Mentorship programs, professional networks, which European Professions Network try to do this, my institution, and job placement services would help refugees and immigrants find jobs that match their qualifications. So, lastly, my last sentence. Refugees and immigrants bring great talent to Europe, not only through their skills, but also adding cultural diversity and new ideas. However, the barriers they face in getting their diplomas recognized and finding jobs according to their qualifications need to be solved immediately. By doing so, Europe can unlock the full potential of its immigrant and the refugees populations, can create more inclusive and prosperous way into Europe and the society for everyone. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Hakan, for this detailed presentation. And Professor Çiroğlu, please, floor is yours.
Okay, good afternoon. Well, during the speech you saw me that I was just writing something here. Don't think that I prepared my presentation here. I did it at home, but I was just rearranging due to common topics that you already discussed. I don't want to just simply repeat it here. That was what I was doing. Yeah, good afternoon again. I would like to thank you also, organizers, for this important event. I was invited here today to share my experiences of being a refugee here in Belgium. Well, before I start my topic, I would like to go back to 2016 when there was an coup attempt in Turkey and many people from Turkey was just running away from the country. And there was a professor in my office in 2016 in Georgia, came from Turkey. And it was like for me the first time to see a refugee person and planning to go do something else. And I asked him, what is your plan to do? What are you going to do? Then he said, I'm going to go to Germany. Then what is your plan there to do? Then he said, well, I'm going to apply there as a refugee. I will apply, I'll become like a refugee there. Well, for me it was like really very strange. I have not seen any refugee before. I read many like news about the immigration, the problems of refugees and books and movies, but that was the first time that I see the person going to apply as a refugee. Well, after 4 years, I myself became a refugee and applied for asylum. Well, this is life. What I would like to do, I would like to talk some problems that refugees face, mostly related with economics and education issues. I arrived here in Belgium 15th of March 2020. That was the day of lockdown. That was when the pandemic began. Of course, as I think you experienced before coming to country, it was not easy to make the decision. Huh? It took like long time to make this decision, but you try till last moment to stay there. But if you see it's not anymore working, then you make decision to go to another country. That's what they did also the same. Huh? I arrived here 2020 March, and I stayed one night in camp, and second day they took us to the social house that we stayed there like 2 months. Then after we moved the dormitory there in Ghent, and we stayed there 1 year. Then after 1 year we received acceptation of the documentation that we applied to an asylum. What I did then after, as soon as I arrived here, I started learning language. Even though I was in social house, then there were no lectures and courses. I started there learning from YouTube. I think many of you did the same. Then I started the courses, and I completed niveau 9, level 9. And there are 10 levels, and I have done the 9s in Netherlands. Well, I agree that is something different to get level 9 than to speak, out with people. But that is necessary. I mean, if you would like to get the job, if you would like to start your life here, that is must. You have to learn language that you live. and then after, during the time period that I was learning Netherlands, yeah, I have done actually many things. I applied for an AMAL program. The AMAL program is like under the municipality there in Ghent. Then you can work in different places. Then I applied to work at the university there, and under this program I was there like 1.5 years, and to get the experience there at the university, to know the environment there, to meet the people there. It was really for me a nice experience. Actually, my intention was to somehow stay there at the university, but it is really tough there to get the position. And there are many people waiting to get the position. I mean, many postdoctorate students, many PhD students, many PhD graduates, they're waiting for the position. Therefore, it was, I think, for me very, very difficult to get the position. Of course, I applied for the diploma equivalence recognition, and there is also there in organization, as I said, AMAL. They help us really much during the process. They provided all the support to get the diploma equivalence as soon as possible, and I think it was like 6 months took to get the equivalence, and I got fully diploma equivalence there here in Belgium. Yeah, of course, I was searching to get the position, and at the universities there, especially in Oost-Vlaanderen, especially in Ghent. Yeah, I applied for the position there in Ghent, and that was the position of coordinating master programs, as I have really long administrative work there in back to Georgia. I had like a 1 hour interview with the people there, and it was in Netherlands. And after the meeting, I said, okay, I spoke 1 hour Netherlands with the people there. It was like, for me, the first public, publicly speaking Netherlands. And I was like proud of me a little after the meeting. But the result wasn't that much good. They said, well, your Netherlands is not that much good to run this position. Yeah, there was another position there in Leuven, and that was at an international office, and I applied there. But the program was something engineering, and then they invited me for the interview, and at the end they said, well, that is your field is not like suitable for the program. Well, this was also another refusal. Well, yeah, once you are a refugee, you have your own capabilities, you know yourself. But this is like totally different country, not different in terms of like many things. But well, if you once you are talking about the job and things, well, they really don't know who you are. I mean, that's what I see here. I mean, you could have like a really very nice background, but they cannot measure this. Okay, you have diploma equivalence, but that is not everything. They should see you on the field. I mean, what I tell my friends, B2 or C1 that you receive here in Belgium is like more acceptable for the people here than you have a PhD somewhere they don't know. Because they know what's going on here. They know the system here. They know how you are evaluated here. I mean, what I'm saying, it is very, very important to get the experience here. Yeah, you bring something back from your country, but that is not everything. Therefore, what I suggest people here to get the experience as much as possible here in Belgium. That is most important. Then after this, yeah, I decrease my expectations. I start like this, and then you come down and come down. And then I applied like the position there in high school. It was a business English. I had a business background. Last year, I taught business classes. Well, I have been teaching economics and business classes long. I have also teach online from here to Georgia still. But yeah, you want here permanent job. Yeah, business English courses were like for me really not like something difficult. It was like 3-4 level lower than I have been teaching. I had been teaching there back to Georgia, but still it was a work. It was good to meet young people, but it was difficult. to meet the, students in high schools. It was, well, I was teaching like, I had third year of the students and I had like 5th, 6th, and 7th. Well, upper classes were okay, but lower classes, it was really tough and difficult for me to manage. I mean, there are other issues, and there was a question here that, I'm a teacher, but they don't accept me here as a teacher. Well, yeah, it is not only the issue to be being a teacher, but you should have really good class management and other capabilities. You have to take, I think, at least some courses here at the universities. Maybe there are like some programs, 1-year programs, 2-year programs to become a teacher. That will really help you, I think. That's what I can advise you. Then after, okay, let me check my notes, what I have. I was offered from OCMV to visit the assistant there in OCMV. There is a department, they help you to find a job. That is another department that you have an assistant at the office. And they are called like work assistant. And I was there, and then she looked at my CV and said, "Wow, this is the first time I see this kind of CV. There is, I think, nothing for you here that I can do." Then I think we offer here like gardening, cooking, cleaning and stuff, but this is not for you, I think. Then she advised me to go to the Vrije, and there's like an office for higher education. Well, I would like to use like a word here that is called overqualified. I hear this word many times, and sometimes, I don't want to hear that. They say you are overqualified. Yeah, but it's okay, I can do that. No, you are overqualified. And I thought sometimes that it would be nice to be a technician than being a professor, huh? Then you could easily find a job here. Well, job market is competitive. Job market is really searching for the people who really contribute to the company of the organization. But I think we should continue searching right position for that. I still work high school. But I will talk to a professor from Leuven, maybe he will help me to get the position there in that university. But that's not on him, that is the system here. And then you have to somehow, follow, and then you should not stop. You should not just step back, just go forward and search for new opportunities. Actually, there are many new opportunities. Well, I know personally more than 20 academicians came from Turkey to Belgium. I myself know at least 20. There is nobody having a position there at the university. Somebody is doing like somebody is doing like a Turkish döner and kebab business, and somebody is doing other things. But they are all out of their real career. I mean, I think this is also the loss for the country. Country can benefit. Well, I myself advised some ideas to. I gave some ideas to Amal president in Ghent, that I told him how to effectively benefit from newcomers, because they are really educated people. I mean, they have huge experiences. We can simply benefit from their experiences. He told me, oh, that's a nice idea, and he took my telephone number and so, but he has not called yet. I'm waiting. Well, we should use the opportunities. As here mentioned, there are lacks of teachers, and there are teachers coming here. There should be done something for that, I think. There might be, coaching. There might be co-working. There might be matching with the teachers from schools to grow these people, to improve their languages of Netherlands. That is not easy. You cannot simply learn the language, especially if you are like, becoming like older. Young people maybe can learn faster, but it takes really time. Well, there are many other things that we can talk here, but I don't really want you to take like much of your time. Well, I had some other issues here to talk, but I think it is like afternoon and you're all tired to listen us. Well, I see this is like a really good opportunity to raise some issues and to find the solutions. I mean, even if you find the one solution, that would be good, I think, for today's event. Well, I was always telling my students this story. There is a person on the beach, and there are like millions of stars on the beach, and there's a person throwing the stars back to the sea. And then there's another person looking at him and saying, well, and asking them, what are you doing? Then he says, well, I'm saving life of these stars. Then the person says, well, there are millions of stars here, and you throw some of them back, and you say you are saving the life of the stars, sea stars. Then he takes one more and throws back to the sea and says, ask this one. I mean, it is very important to solve one person's problem. It is very important to save one person's life. Therefore, I see this kind of gathering very important. And at least to guide one person. Whatever you hear now from me, if you get like 1 point, oh, that's good, let me try this one. That is the actually my understanding of being here and contributing this kind of event. So thank you so much for the invitation again.
Thank you very much, Professor Çiloğlu, and thank you very much all for this fascinating presentations. We have some time for Q&A, questions and answers. Yeah, there's a gentleman right there. Please introduce yourself and indicate whom you are asking to.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for your speech, and thanks for attendance for this organization. And my name is Tuna. I'm a master student of VOB. I'm also now traineeship in the From Camp to Campus project with Mr. Tuba. And my questions for the two Professor Ides. And as you know, the children of the high school age in the Belgium can generally make a direct transition into the job market or in working world without attending higher education. And of course, they were faced some challenges about the integration process in the Belgium, like cultural differences, legal frameworks, and language barriers, psychological supports, and etc. And my question is about that. What specific strategies can be implemented to facilitate the social, educational, and psychological integration of especially unaccompanied minors, the children from the high school age into the Belgian economy, into the Belgian job market? Which specific strategies can be implemented in that unaccompanied minors? Thanks.
Questions? Please go ahead.
One working here.
Okay. Yeah, it's a very, very difficult question you're asking me because I have no experience personally with unaccompanied minors. I think for them, the barriers to be overcome are all the more important because they have been traumatized very often, lost their family, or have difficulties being far away from their family. This comes on top of all the other issues. What can we do? I think many of the recipes that have been discussed here concerning mentoring can also apply to these unaccompanied minors. I don't know how it operates in practice. My suspicion is that once they are 18, there comes a moment when they are sort of left alone and no longer supervised because they are supposed to be adults and to cater for themselves. Maybe I'm wrong, but this is a very important issue, I think, for those people. There should be a very long-term mentoring process in the first place. Do they need to go into tertiary education? Not necessarily. It all depends on their personal aspirations and talents. We don't like to claim with the Camp to Campus project that everybody should move into higher education. We just focus on higher education because we know that universities and universities of applied science have a lot of freedom in their, say, a lot of margin of maneuver. They can be very flexible. They are not flexible in reality, but they can be flexible in assessing the talents of young people and in, say, tailoring programs to their needs, even exempting them from specific courses through say, recognition of competences and particular credits that people have acquired in their home country and that kind of stuff. So in that regard, we see a big role for universities and higher education institutions at large. But otherwise, yes, I think I'm not really able to give a very precise answer to the issue of unaccompanied minors because it's yeah, a specific category. And there's a shortage of youth workers in general. There's a shortage of mentors, as far as I know. So it's not only a matter of making decisions about, say, measures that can help them. It's also finding the people who can very concretely engage with them. I don't know if you want to make further comments yourself based on your experience.
Any more questions?
I just want to answer to your question. Maybe it's an answer for you. There is an organization, Minor and D'accord, and they are doing these jobs with unaccompanied minors. So maybe if you can, yeah, make a research on the internet, you will find them.
Thank you. I don't see any hands. Okay, maybe I can abuse my position as the moderator and ask you a question that I really think a lot these days. European Union has been one of the most welcoming clubs of refugees, although we have problems. You mentioned about the problems. Refugees and asylum seekers have problems. But nevertheless, it is the most welcoming. We have to acknowledge this truth, this fact. But I want to ask you, how concerned are you about the rise of far right in Europe and in Belgium? Just today, there were 8 EU member countries who stopped processing the asylum seekers from Syria just because Bashar al-Assad left Damascus. Can you please share your views about how concerned are you?
Okay, perhaps I can start this question briefly because I'd like to give an opportunity to the other speakers to claim their views. So yes, the old European countries suspended the Syrian refugees, their asylum-seeking processes, because many of them would like to go back to their country of origin after Bashar al-Assad left the country. And so this is also kind of a dilemma because so many years they lived in Europe, but after the situations get better in their country of origin, many of them would like to go back to the country of origin. So we also, we should analyze these decisions for different perspectives. Psychologically, labor, economically, financially, so many perspectives we have to analyze this enthusiasm to going back to Syria. In this perspective, so what I'd like to hear is the perspective of financial or professional way. Even though maybe 10 years after the war began, maybe 10 or 11 years passed, they still, in Europe, they still couldn't find the better solutions for their professional background integrate into the Europe as well. I mean, many of doctors, I mean, engineers, teachers, not doctors, teachers in Europe still. And somehow they would like to go back, the country, that doesn't mean to go back to Syria, but also going back to their real identities. You know, we know, for instance, some retirements could be painful, for instance, for soldiers. After years in the army, when they retired, they suffered so difficulty to, you know, socialize in the real life, because their jobs become also their identity as well. So in this respect, the jobs and the identity could be considered in the same pot. But many of the Syrian refugees came to Europe since they couldn't perform their educational background into the European labor market. So somehow they lost their half of their identity. So the going back to the Syria means not going back to the country of origin, also the going back to the real identities that they lost maybe in 10 years. So I can briefly summarize for this perspective. So anyone, would you like to comment on this question?
Professor Nicaise?
On the far right, I would say I'm very concerned because the far right does not build on, say, knowledge. They build on narratives that they invent. It's very often building on lies. We live in a so-called post-truth area, and as a scientist, it's very hard to counter arguments of the far right. There is a saying that truth or confidence in society comes on foot and leaves by horse. Meaning that once the confidence in society is getting lost, and this is the strategy of the far right, to be subversive and to combat the confidence in the institutions and to try and overhaul institutions. This is the damage could be lasting for a very long time. It's not a symmetric movement, if you like. So what can we do as scientists? What we try to do is play the game of, say, the people that have those opinions and develop narratives that are positive and also launch these narratives in the social media. That is not the role of the scientists themselves, but we can design the narratives and we can help construct positive narratives based on, say, real experiences of people and feed into, say, the media with the help of journalists like you. And I think the media play an extremely important role there. And we have, in a previous research, we have experienced how media really can influence the attitudes of the European public opinion. There is scientific demonstration of it. And this is hope-giving in a way, that through a well-thought media strategy, the far right can be countered. Now, the European Union themselves are also investing a lot of resources into, say, not just scientific research in that field, but also in strategies for, say, a more constructive attitude in public opinion. So not to say that this is a very, very important issue. Yeah.
Professor Çiloğlu?
Well, I don't have only concerns about Europe, but I have concerns about the world. After elections in USA, the issues in Europe, and I come from Georgia, and now there are people in Georgia demonstrating like last 2 weeks after elections. And yeah, I would like to also here share my solidarity with the people there on street spending the days, and I support them. Yeah, hopefully people will understand the value of the days that now we are living, and hopefully we'll have like a future life. Yeah, that's a tough question, and that's really difficult, you know, to answer in a minute. But yeah, hopefully we'll have better future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hereby close the session. I want to thank you all for your contributions and your patience. And of course, I want to thank our panelists. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.